Every morning the world starts quietly, one soft light at a time. Homes flicker awake, shops open. People take those first small steps into a brand new day. And in all of that ordinary movement, there's something kind of extraordinary. A moment worth noticing, a spark you feel before you even name it. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's small, but kindness shows up right on time. And every morning we choose to show up with you so we can look for that spark together.
Good morning. I'm Matt Roof, the Uncommon Kindness Guy, and this is Kindness Rising. Let's rise together.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome. Welcome to Kindness Rising, your morning dose of hope, humanity, and heart. Thank you for joining me here today. Get involved in the chat. If you're out there, introduce yourself. I'll be checking in regularly. But today we're going to be talking about a continuation of our conversation from yesterday, but from the perspective of Gen X, how an entire generation was raised to believe that danger would always come from the outside, from foreign powers, from distant regimes and geopolitical adversaries. Today's episode is about something different, though. It's about different threats to our democracy and why kindness becomes civic courage in moments like this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining here on Kindness Rising. Yes, Bathy. Whoa. Okay. Bathy Kurezi, person turquoise, waving speech. All right. Good morning, Michael Sullivan. I am glad you are here. We are continuing our conversation from yesterday and talking about those of us in Gen X and what we grew up with, how we lived through it, and how it impacted and flavored our opinions for today. Remember the Iranian hostage crisis on TV? That was probably my first awareness. That's what I'm looking for. The first awareness that that there was a world outside of my little neighborhood, for sure. In terms of the political stage, the world stage, grew up in the Cold War and its nuclear showdown with Reagan and Gorbachev going at it, and Reagan joking about bombing Russia. Right? I don't know if you remember that. He said he got caught on a mic check saying something about bombing them into the Stone Age. We grew up as teenagers with Red Dawn, the movie Red Dawn, as a fantasy of the Soviet invasion, and Rocky IV as a Cold War morality play, Ivan Drago and the Russian machine behind that. But it was really that morality play of the Cold War. And then finally, of course, the Strategic Defense Initiative. I remember being a kid and hearing about lasers in space protecting us from them. Lasers in space protecting us from them. The point is that the enemy was always from without. It was always over there, external, foreign, other than what was going on here in our world. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Roseanne Roof. The Day After Nuclear War TV film. Absolutely. That was huge. It was like a three-day miniseries about post-nuclear life or what life is like following a nuclear incident. But anyway, wow, yeah, I forgot about that one. Thanks, Sully. I appreciate it. But here's what I want to do, though, because this is what we do on Kindness Rising. We zoom out. We try to get a little bit of perspective, right? And well, we grew up thinking that threat would come from the outside, the external threat. The first cracks in that external threat story actually started were happening all along, baked into us, baked into our civic DNA, and we normalized them, right? Iran-Contra, that told us that the government could break the law if it was for our safety. Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, that told us that our government could alter the truth if it was for our stability. The savings and loan crisis revealed the greed in the institutions without accountability, and the 2008 financial collapse. Yeah, it was craps, that's for sure. The financial collapse that revealed that we privatized profit and socialized the risk. We called it politics. We called it economics. We said, that's the way the world works, right? But the real reason was that corruption is in our DNA. It's a domestic pathogen, not a foreign invasion. I just don't think we ever had the language for it yet. Or maybe we didn't want it. I don't know. Welcome everybody. Mike Sullivan, Sadie Ann, I am glad you are here with us too. Thanks for joining us here on Kindness Rising. Today we're talking about threats to our democracy and why kindness becomes civic courage in the face of those threats. Absolutely. Little history lesson, a little review for those of us who are in Gen X as I've been processing what we've experienced and where the world is, and my mission continues to multiply kindness and seek peace, but we need to do it with a sense of understanding about where we are, where we've come from. Sadie Ann, I am glad you are here. Austin, yo, Austin, welcome in as we talk about the history and we talk about the process of where we have come from in the U.S., right? And we're just talking about the fact that there was always corruption, right? There was always corruption at the highest level, and we accepted it. We said, okay, well, we'll take that in exchange for our safety. We'll take that in exchange for our security. And sure, there was drama around it, and people went to jail, and millions of dollars exchanged hands, billions of dollars, maybe trillions of dollars exchanged hands throughout all of those incidents that we grew up with. But then something changed. January 6th. I don't really talk about politics, but what I saw for me, the shock for me of the January 6th incident is that it was the first time that I saw Americans mobilized against ourselves. That was a moment for me. I mean, it seems so obvious when I say it out loud, but looking at it within the context, right? It was not a coup in the classic sense. There was no tanks and generals and whatever. But historically, this is how democracies fall. If we look at it from a historical perspective, and it's shocking, right? Hitler didn't win his power initially through a foreign invasion. He won an election and then dismantled things from within. Mussolini, he marched on Rome with civilians. Hungary, Poland, they didn't collapse to foreign invaders, right? They drifted slowly into what's known as illiberalism. I don't know if people know that term. Illiberalism was what they call it, which is the idea that it's still a democracy, but it's really only a democracy for certain people. Elections, nationalist romance, all that led to those problems there in Hungary and Poland. Those were internal collapses, not external conquests. The real pattern is internal collapse. Absolutely. Thank you for joining here on Kindness Rising. What are you up to today? Yes, I know it's a little bit heavier today, but I feel that it's necessary for us to get this. And I'm getting to the point, which is kindness as the antidote to this cycle, this rhythm, that we're in right now. I have enough perspective to know that things are going to change too, right? They always do. So, but they only change because we will, through our engagement as people, our recognition that that humanity is more important than power. That's where we're getting to. But anyway, I do want to just continue to give perspective. It's helped me to process through what's going on, right? Internal conditions in societies make authoritarian solutions feel attractive. That's what leads us down the path, right? After World War One, the Weimar Germany was humiliated. The Treaty of Versailles humiliated. They felt actual humiliation, and that is the nutrients. That is the soil for a strongman to rise. In 1930s Italy, Mussolini, he weaponized nostalgia, the mystic past of Rome. In 1930s Germany, Hitler weaponized purity, grievance, and belonging. And in Argentina and Chile, the language was national security and anti-communism. And in every case, the through line is the same. The strong man becomes the solution to a story about national injury. The threat isn't foreign invasion. The threat is internal grievance. Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's psychology behind that. There's psychology that explains what history has shown us. It all starts inside, right? When societies internally experience humiliation, like in Weimar Germany, right? Economic precarity, lost status, disorientation, the world changed, boom, COVID happened, and the world changed. We were all just like, what? Completely disoriented, right? Absolutely. Demographic shifts through immigration, through economics. The world is changing. The world is changing. If you look at the demographic shift, racially, age-wise, culturals, mixed cultures, right? Absolutely. And so all those things combined, those demographic changes, the disorientation, economic precarity, all those things, the nervous system of the nation, that's what shifts. It shifts into threat vigilance. Remember, we talked about this personally. When threat becomes chronic, the body reaches for control, not curiosity. This is why authoritarian movements feel less like ideology and more like trauma responses, right? We're going to fight. We got to dominate. We got to dominate. Flight, separate, keep people separate, keep separated. Freeze, we get apathetic disengagement. Well, there's nothing I can do about it, so I'll just keep living my life. Right? Absolutely. Yep, causes more cortisol. Absolutely, Mike Sullivan. There's no doubt about it. That kind of fear, the threats, cortisol, and our nation is on a cortisol and adrenaline rush right now, which is why we are trying to bring a little bit of calm, a little bit of intellectualization of this, a little bit of understanding and perspective, history, where we come from, and how we can learn from that and apply kindness to it. Because here's the thing, kindness isn't sentimental. It isn't sentimental in moments like this. It's not like, oh, kumbaya, let's love each other. That's what people want to say it is. But what it is it's actually our ability to regulate to de-escalate, to bring things down a little bit, and to counter trauma. That's what kindness does. It helps us to continue to move forward with hope. Absolutely. So let's talk about Gen X. Gen X, we are in that weird historical corridor, right? If you look at it back, what we were taught about, what we learned about, we were too young to live through the civil rights movement, but we heard about it and we experienced its impacts. We were too young for Vietnam, right? We're too young for Vietnam to be to have lived it, but to have experienced it, and again experienced the impacts of it. And too young for Watergate, right? That was a huge breakdown in our national structures, right? A loss of innocence for the country. But we were old enough for enough things to know what goes on. Iran-Contra scandal, the Challenger explosion, the Exxon Valdez disaster, the fall of the Berlin. I could go on and on. I actually made a gigantic list here of the different things that were like, holy crap, these were pretty impactful. I could rattle them off. Fall of the Berlin Wall, NAFTA, Columbine, 9/11, the Great Recession, Iraq, Afghanistan, COVID, January 6th. Boom, 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 boom. All of it, and all of it in our face. We're the first generation to live with 24-hour news cycle, really. It's in our face. It's in our face all the time. And so why does Gen X get accused of being cynical? It was our shield. Morton Downey Jr. show. Holy moly, Mike Sullivan. Where did that come from? You want to hear a funny story? My grandmother, God bless her soul, loved Morton Downey Jr. Loved him. Loved him. Loved him so much that somewhere, I'm trying to put an age on it because it must have been in the 90s. I don't know. My grandmother lived to 104 years old. An amazing person. But anyway, she must have been in her 80s, 70s, 80s. She goes to the Morton Downey Jr. show in Secaucus, New Jersey. It was filmed. We didn't know that. Secaucus, New Jersey, the Morton Downey Jr. show. My grandmother shows up at the Morton Downey Jr. show, sitting in the audience, hysterically wearing a fake rubber nose, like a Pinocchio nose, in the audience. You want to talk about not taking yourself seriously? She loved that stuff. But that was a memory I hadn't thought about in a long time. Morton Downey Jr., the chain smoking. Yeah, absolutely. That was part of our vibe. That's what we grew up on. But we were also raised, because of all that stuff, because with cynicism, right? How did the grunge movement, the numbness of the grunge movement, right? We watched South Park to get our politics sometimes. The Simpsons, we looked to the Simpsons. I mean, this was how our worldview was shaped. The Onion evolved because of us, right? That's great. That's great. That was our armor, right? That was our protection. And I love all those things. I love grunge. I love South Park, The Onion. Still look at The Onion. I still check out The Simpsons, right? But here's where we went wrong and why we need to change and think about things a little differently. Authoritarianism, the rise of fascism, it doesn't need loyalty. It only needs disengagement. So the Gen X myth that we'd resist authoritarianism by checking out, that is false. It's false. It's false. Authoritarianism, fascism, it doesn't care. It just needs you to get out of the way. Stay quiet. Be disengaged. That's why we have to look at things a little bit differently, or risk falling into. I can't even say it out loud. Okay, so what do we do now? Historically, authoritarian movements want three things from people. Three things. The first thing they want is they want us to react violently. They want to be able to justify the use of more force, more control. Violent reaction gives them that justification. They want despair and disengagement. If you're not going to react violently so they can respond and feel justified, they just want you to get out of the way. Let us operate uncontested. And normalization, that's what they want. They want that just to become the status quo. Status quo, status quo. And then they can consolidate power. And that's why the path forward is in nonviolence, to resist escalation, in participation, to resist passivity, in community, to resist isolation, and in accountability, to resist normalization. Remember that nonviolence is not weakness. It is strategic power. It's what Gandhi used. It's what MLK used. It's what Solidarity used in Poland. We could go on and on with the examples. I gave you all the examples of how it rose. Here's the examples of how it's dismantled. The Velvet Revolution in Czechoslovakia. Here's the thing. Authoritarianism, it's allergic to dignity. It can't handle kindness. It doesn't know what to do with it. It doesn't know what to do with it. So as we rise together with kindness, with humanity in our minds, in our hearts, and in our actions, that is the way we'll stop the spread of this. It's already happening if you're checking things out in the news. I'll tell you, I've struggled. There's this here. I'm going to go on to my side. I have struggled to stay out of it. I usually do. I usually just assess and continue on with my life and whatever, and stay quiet. But this is not possible right now for me. It's not possible for me to live with myself and just say, okay, it's going on, and oh, what a shame. Oh, what a shame. The best thing that I can do is show up here every day on Kindness Rising and talk about these things, educate us, get us thinking about it. I have said from the start, I don't care that there are a million people watching here. I don't care if there's one person watching here, as long as there's one and I know who I can count on. It helps me, and I hope that it helps you to see, to understand, to have context, to bring calmness and kindness into your world and show that there's power and strength in kindness. That's why Kindness Rising exists. Because at some point, just like we are right now, we're asked to choose a side. Not in a partisan war, but in a moral one. Do we want to hold a world where strength equals domination, or where strength equals restraint? Where patriotism equals fear, or where patriotism equals accountability? Where power equals humiliation, or where power equals responsibility? I choose restraint, accountability, responsibility. I truly believe that we're at a point where the future of our ideals, our civilization, what we know, is at that point. I'm not trying to catastrophize things. I'm not trying to poo-poo things either. I'm trying to face it with reality, with kindness, and know what's in my heart to give. That's what I'm doing. All right. So what does kindness mean? What does kindness mean in this context? That's what I've been wanting to get to and what we will get to here. Let's name it. Kindness starts with clarity, seeing reality without distortion. So much of what we are inundated with out there, and trust me, I've been absorbed in it over the past 48, 72 hours. So much is purposefully distorted. And so we have to look at it with a critical eye so that we can get clarity on what the real story is. We need to make kindness reflected as courage, naming what's going on without hatred, without anger, without unmitigated outrage. I want to say this. I understand why people feel the way they do, outraged on both sides of everything, right? There's these extremes. There's reasons why, of course, but if we have the courage, to name what's going on, to understand it, and to lean into what's worked in the past to move our society forward, that will help us lean into kindness. Having a little bit of compassion, understanding without excusing. I talked about it yesterday. It's gained a little bit of controversy. Exceptionally bushy. Keith is over on his channel, and you're wrong. And I know Keith would say the same thing. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is strength. Community. This is about community. This is about connecting without collapsing. And it's about presence, engaging without despair. Kindness is actually civic muscle and it's democratic infrastructure. Clarity, courage, compassion, community, presence. That's kindness in the world today. Okay. I lost something, but I'm gonna pick it up. There we go. All right, we're winding down here, and I want to talk real quick about the six strings of kindness rising and how it relates to what we are doing here. And I'm trying to find my notes about that, but that's okay. We can talk about it anyway. Kindness is our first string. We just talked about why kindness matters, right? I'm still looking for it because I lost it and I feel terrible. Oh well, sometimes life gets away from us. It's terrible that I can't think of it without my notes. I really should be less reliant on that. I just had it. Oh well, I'm going to move on. I believe that the six strings do relate, right? We're talking about kindness. We're talking about how we can use our strength, our powers of communication, our powers of collaboration and compassion to break down the walls, to be curious about perspectives, right? To take action. Those are the strings we will lead on. I fumbled here at the end, but I still believe, and I believe that we can do this together. We can do this together. Absolutely. Because here it is. I wrote it very simply, and I'm going to end with it. Kindness counters dehumanization. Curiosity counters propaganda. Self-awareness counters grievance. Balance counters extremism. Growth counters stagnation. And action counters passivity. Those are the things that we need to break fear. Because remember, if fear breaks the strings of democracy, kindness can retune them. I appreciate you all for coming out, for sticking with me. I promise to go a little lighter after tomorrow, but I just wanted to do that today for context. It's just too important in our world right now and in our lives for us not to be talking about these things. So thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it. Come on back tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Kindness Rising. Get on over to see Keith, John, and friends on the Mornings in the Lab Network. Thank you. Stay uncommon and stay kind.
Okay, Matt, we got the memo about the Kindness Rising promo, but what exactly are we promising people?
And is there craft services? Hey, I need snacks too.
Gentlemen, focus. Kindness Rising multiplies kindness and helps people get up on the right side of the bed.
So wait, we're not doing another angry headline show.
Exactly. We rise above the negative, divisive noise.
Translation, less rage bait, more high fives for humanity. And this is live, like actually live.
Yep. We go live on YouTube and LinkedIn, 7:30 a.m. Eastern every weekday.
Wait, if it's live, what if I forget my lines?
Then you improvise.
Okay, so our tagline is basically wake up, tune in, and start your day with kindness.
Exactly. Kindness Rising. Good vibes, practical tips, and a reason to get up on the right side of the bed.
You heard the boss. Subscribe now before he makes us do a TikTok dance.
Kindness Rising. Wake up, tune in, and let's make some good noise.